You think you're fighting the market? You're not. You're fighting yourself. Every chart, every red candle, every impulsive trade you regret, that's not the market punishing you. That's your ego. The market doesn't even know you exist. It doesn't care about your hopes, your dreams, your carefully drawn lines. It's a mirror. And what you see in that mirror is your own reflection, distorted by greed, fear, and pride. Look, everyone says they want to beat the market. But what if the only thing that needs beating is the part of you that can't stand being wrong? Here's the truth. Most traders will never admit out loud. They don't trade to win. They trade to prove they're right. And that right there is why they lose. So today, we're going to dissect the silent war that every trader is fighting. Not against algorithms, not against hedge funds, but against themselves. Stay with me, because when you see what's really controlling your trades, you'll realize the enemy isn't out there. It's in here. Every trader thinks their downfall is technical. Bad entry, wrong stop loss, wrong setup. No, your downfall is psychological. Because here's what happens. You enter a trade, it goes against you, and suddenly your identity is on the line. You're no longer defending a position. You're defending your ego. You can feel it, that burn in your chest, that need to be right. You move your stop, you double down, you call it conviction. It's not conviction. It's ego in disguise. Welcome to Disciplined Trades, where we don't teach hype, we dismantle illusions. Here, you'll unlearn the stories that cost you money and rebuild a mindset that can actually survive the market. Because the truth is brutal but freeing. The market doesn't destroy traders. Their own egos do. In this episode, you'll learn 5 psychological shifts that elite traders use to neutralize their ego before it kills their edge. By the end, you'll understand how to stop chasing validation and start trading reality. And the final shift, number 5, it's the one that turned my worst trading month into my best year ever. Before we go in, answer this honestly in the comments. When you lose, do you feel pain because you lost money or because you were wrong? Be honest, because that answer will tell you exactly how close you are to mastery. Chapter 1, The Mirror Effect. How the market reflects your identity. Here's the first truth you need to swallow. The market isn't a teacher, it's a mirror. Whatever you bring to it, arrogance, fear, insecurity, it reflects back tenfold. Let me show you. In 1998, a hedge fund called Long-Term Capital Management collapsed. The founders, Nobel Prize-winning economists, actual geniuses. They had equations that could predict probabilities to the third decimal. And yet, they lost $4 billion. Not because the math failed, but because they couldn't admit that they might be wrong. They believed the market should behave according to their models, and when it didn't, they doubled down, then tripled. That's ego intellectualized. Every retail trader does the same thing, just on a smaller scale. You make a plan, price does something else, and instead of accepting it, you start arguing with the chart. You think, no, it has to come back. It has to. That's not analysis, that's denial. You're trying to make the market match your identity, to protect your sense of being smart, capable, in control. But the market doesn't care about your identity. It only rewards humility. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing to be right is the moment you start trading well. Because then you're not defending yourself. You're observing truth. Think about it. The chart isn't lying. You are. Takeaway. Every losing trade isn't failure. It's feedback. The market is showing you who you really are when money's on the line. Look in that mirror. What do you see? Chapter 2. The Pride Loop. Why you can't cut a losing trade. This one hurts. You know that trade you refuse to close because it'll bounce? That's your pride talking. You're not waiting for the chart to turn. You're waiting for your ego to be rescued. Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who won the Nobel Prize, proved this decades ago. Humans hate being wrong more than they love being right. It's called loss aversion. You'd rather lose twice as much money than admit you made one bad decision. Every trader knows this feeling. You set a stop loss, the price hits it. You move it just a little lower. It hits that too. You move it again. And suddenly, you're not managing a trade. You're managing your humiliation. Let me tell you about Victor Niederhofer, brilliant hedge fund manager. Turned $40,000 into $20 million, lost it all, twice. Both times, same mistake. He couldn't accept being wrong. When his trades went against him, he doubled down. The market's wrong, he'd say. Sound familiar? His second collapse wiped him out completely. He later wrote, "My downfall was not in my strategy, but in my pride. I confused intelligence with invincibility." The same pride hides in every retail trader who refuses to close a bad trade. You're not losing to the market. You're losing to your refusal to accept imperfection. Here's a brutal truth. Every time you move your stop, you're paying tuition to your ego. And it's an expensive school. Takeaway. Pride doesn't just make you hold losers. It blinds you to exits, clouds your judgment, and steals your objectivity. The cure? Radical acceptance. Say it out loud next time. I was wrong. Not as punishment, as liberation. Because the second you can say those 3 words without emotional pain, you're free. Chapter 3. The illusion of control. Why you think you're smarter than you are. There's a study from MIT that changed how I see trading forever. They gave 2 groups of traders random coin flips. One group saw the results instantly. The other group thought they could predict the next flip. Guess who risked more money? The ones who thought they had control, even though the outcome was random. That's trading in a nutshell. Every time you think you can outsmart the market, I see the pattern. I know what it's going to do next. You're falling into the illusion of control. The market loves that. It feeds your confidence right before it rips your head off. Remember the GameStop mania in 2021? Thousands of traders thought they had cracked the code. They weren't trading anymore. They were playing God. And for a brief moment, it worked. Dopamine through the roof. Feels good to be right. Then collapse. Accounts gone because they weren't managing risk. They were chasing ego validation disguised as conviction. Let me tell you something most traders don't want to hear. You are not in control. Not of the market, not of volatility, not of price. The only thing you control ever is your behavior. And that's enough. Top traders know this. They don't try to predict. They prepare. They have a plan for both outcomes, win or lose. Their edge isn't control. It's consistency. That's how you remove ego from the equation. You replace I think with if then. If this happens, I do that. If it doesn't, I walk away. Process kills ego. Takeaway. Stop trying to prove your intelligence to a machine that doesn't care. Your job isn't to control. Your job is to respond. Chapter 4. The validation trap. Trading for approval, not profit. Let's be real. Half the reason you trade isn't money. It's identity. You want to prove something. To yourself, to your family, to that friend who said you'd never make it. You post profit screenshots. You chase the next big win. You call it inspiration. But deep down, it's ego hunting for validation. And that's poison. In 2020, a research team at Stanford tracked traders' brain activity when they posted wins on social media. The dopamine spike was higher than when they actually made money. Think about that. Your brain rewards attention more than profit. That's why you overtrade after a winning post. You're not chasing gains. You're chasing recognition. And it's the recognition that destroys you. Real pros are invisible. They don't flex. They don't post. They don't care. Who knows? They trade in silence because they've already proven what they needed to prove to themselves. The validation trap is subtle but deadly. You start trading for applause instead of equity. So ask yourself right now, if nobody could ever see your results, would you still trade the same way? If the answer is no, you're not trading the market. You're performing for an audience that doesn't care. Takeaway: ego trades for approval. Professionals trade for freedom. And freedom doesn't need witnesses. Chapter 5. The humility paradox. Why letting go is the ultimate edge. Here's the paradox that separates the 99% from the 1%. The amateur says, I'll master the market. The pro says, I'll master myself. Humility isn't weakness. It's power restrained. Ray Dalio once said, pain plus reflection equals progress. That's not philosophy, it's process. He built Bridgewater, the world's largest hedge fund, on radical transparency, the practice of making ego impossible. Every decision, every mistake, exposed. He wanted to remove pride from the system because pride blinds. Here's the pattern I've seen after 20 years in this game. Ego fights reality. Humility adapts to it. The market rewards adaptation. Always. You don't need to outthink it. You need to outlast it. And the traders who last are the ones humble enough to evolve. Look, you will always have an ego. It's human. The trick isn't to kill it. It's to contain it. Your system, your journal, your rules. They're all ego traps disguised as structure. Every time you follow your process instead of your impulse, you're winning the only fight that matters. Takeaway. The market doesn't crown the smartest or the boldest. It crowns the most self-aware. Humility isn't surrender, it's survival. Climax. So let's strip everything away for a moment. Forget your charts. Forget your indicators. Forget your profits and losses. What's left? You. You, the voice that whispers, I can't be wrong. You, the mind that would rather burn money than admit a mistake. You, the human, trying to find control in a chaotic world. That's who you're really trading against. Every click, every trade, every decision, it's a test. Not of your strategy, of your self-awareness. The market will always find your weakness. It doesn't punish it, it reveals it. You don't beat the market by being smarter. You beat the market by being smaller, not insignificant, just egoless. The market is an ocean. You can't dominate it, but you can learn to surf it if you stop believing you're the wave. That's the real win, because once your ego dies, your clarity is born. You stop forcing, you start flowing, you stop proving, you start observing, you stop fighting the market and start trading it. That's mastery, not control, not prediction, presence. You thought the game was about money. It's not. It's about mastery of self. And the traders who understand that, they don't just survive, they transcend. So now that you've seen the truth, what are you really trying to beat? The market or your own reflection? Because until you conquer the part of you that needs to be right, the market will keep proving you wrong. But when you make peace with losing, when you detach from outcome, when your ego becomes quiet, something incredible happens. You start seeing clearly. The setups make sense. The noise fades. The process becomes effortless. That's the moment trading stops being chaos and starts being art. If this hits you hard, it's supposed to, because this isn't another video about strategies. It's a mirror. And sometimes, the hardest thing to face is yourself. If you're ready to fight the real fight, the one inside you, subscribe. Because every week, we break another illusion the market uses to destroy traders. Like this video if it made you uncomfortable, comment ego exposed if you're ready to train it out of your system, and share it with one trader who's still blaming the market. Next week, we're breaking down the hidden addiction every trader denies and how it destroys discipline. Until then, remember this. The market is not your opponent, it's your reflection. The question is, can you handle what you see?